If you asked me a year ago whether my marriage was falling apart, I would have looked you dead in the eye and said, no. Not because we were doing candlelit dinners every Friday and spontaneously dancing in the kitchen like a commercial for antidepressants, but because we were fine. You know that kind of fine? The kind where you're not miserable, you're not screaming, you're not sleeping on the couch, you're not secretly Googling how to emotionally detach without divorcing. It's just flat, stable. That was us. A normal weeknight looked like this. I'd come home, take off my shoes, wash my hands, and start making dinner. Sometimes she cooked, sometimes I cooked. Sometimes we stared into the fridge like it owed us rent. We'd eat. We'd talk about work. I'd pretend to care about a coworker's office drama the way people pretend to enjoy spinach. After dinner, we'd sit on the couch. She'd pick a show. I'd ask, "What is this about?" She'd say, "It's complicated." It never was. It was always about someone lying, someone cheating, someone hiding a secret twin, or some rich family that apparently solved all problems with wine and passive aggression. We'd watch, we'd laugh. Sometimes we'd argue over something stupid like whether a character was misunderstood or just an emotionally manipulative gremlin. And then we'd go to bed. Nothing tragic, nothing poetic. Just marriage on autopilot. And honestly, I was okay with it. The first sign wasn't the strange scent of perfume or the mysterious hotel receipt. No. The first sign was her phone. Not the phone itself, the behavior. My wife used to treat her phone like a tool, like a normal adult. She'd check messages, scroll a bit, toss it somewhere, and return to being a person. Then, over a couple of weeks, the phone became a personality. She'd sit on the couch with me and hold it like it was a tiny, warm secret. Screen tilted away, notifications silenced, thumb moving like she was cracking a safe. And here's the part that made my brain itch. She would smile. Not a funny meme smile. Not a, "my friend sent me a video of a raccoon stealing bread" smile. This was a private smile, like someone was feeding her compliments straight into her bloodstream. I'd glance over and she'd immediately do this subtle little angle shift. Not dramatic, just enough. Like I was an annoying lamp that needed to be blocked from the view. At first, I told myself, maybe she's planning something sweet. Maybe she's organizing a surprise. Maybe she's ordering me a gift. Maybe she's researching a new hobby. Maybe she's finally learning how to cook something other than salad with confidence. You know what's funny? When you love someone, your brain becomes a professional liar. Then the vocabulary started. One morning, I'm making coffee and she's standing there, wearing one of my hoodies like she's starring in a soft morning intimacy Pinterest board. She says casually, "I just need alignment." I paused with the mug halfway to my mouth. "Alignment," I repeated. She nodded like she'd said, "milk." "Yeah, alignment. Like energetic alignment." Now, I'm not a caveman. I know words. But when your spouse suddenly talks like she's subscribed to a cosmic newsletter, you notice. I said, "Alignment with what? The planets? The microwave? Our mortgage?" She gave me this calm little smile. The kind of smile people give a child when they ask why the sky is blue. "With myself." "Okay, sure." Then it became truth, then connection, then my authentic self. And every time she said one of these, I felt like I was watching my wife slowly being replaced by a motivational podcast with hair. The physical part changed too. She used to be warm, casual touches, a hand on my shoulder when she walked by, leaning into me on the couch. Now it was like touching me required paperwork. She'd pull away from hugs faster. She'd sit with a little space between us. She'd yawn a lot. She'd say she was tired, constantly, which is impressive, because she had enough energy to be glued to her phone like it was life support. I'm not proud of how long I tolerated the slow creep, but I also didn't want to become that guy. The paranoid husband who interrogates his wife like she's a criminal suspect because she smiled at a text. So I watched. I waited. I paid attention. And I kept my mouth shut. Until she made it impossible. It happened on a Tuesday. She said she was running an errand after work. No big deal. Normal. Except the errand took A while. I had already eaten, cleaned up, watched half an episode of some show where a detective had exactly one facial expression. Still no wife. I called her. It went to voicemail. I texted, "Everything okay?" Nothing. Half an hour later, she walks in like she just came back from a peaceful stroll through a meadow. Calm, collected, phone in hand. I looked at the clock, then at her. "Where were you?" Not shouted, not emotional, just factual. She blinked at me like my question was slightly rude. "I told you," she said. "I had an errand." "Yeah," I said. "An errand with the runtime of a Christopher Nolan movie." She exhaled slowly, like she was preparing to deal with a difficult employee. And then she said the sentence that changed everything. "I'm not obligated to report to you. I'm finding myself." There it was again, finding herself, like she'd lost her keys in the sofa cushions of the universe. I leaned back in my chair and held her gaze. "Okay," I said. "So we're doing that now?" She frowned. "Doing what?" "This," I said, gesturing vaguely at her, at the calm tone, the distance, the new script. The "I don't answer questions" thing. She shrugged. "I'm setting boundaries." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so clean. She wasn't angry. She wasn't defensive. She wasn't guilty in the way people think guilt looks. She was above it. I said, "Boundaries are fine, but if you disappear for hours and you won't answer your phone, that's not a boundary. That's a problem." She stared at me for a beat, then said, "You're being controlling." There it is. The magic word. The nuclear button people press when they want you to shut up and feel ashamed for noticing reality. My wife, who used to argue with me over which pizza place was better, was now accusing me of controlling her because I asked where she'd been. I stood up calmly. "I'm not controlling," I said. "I'm married, that's the deal. If you want to live like you're single, just say it. Don't dress it up in therapy language." Her eyes narrowed slightly. And in that moment, I realized something cold and simple. This conversation wasn't between husband and wife. It was between a man and a stranger wearing his wife's face. And once you feel that, you never unfeel it. Big conversations never happen when you schedule them. They don't happen on a Saturday morning with coffee and good lighting. They happen late at night, when the house is quiet, the dishes are already dry, and both of you are too tired to pretend anymore. That's when she decided she was ready to talk. I was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through absolutely nothing, when she walked in and leaned against the counter like she was about to deliver a carefully rehearsed monologue. Not nervous, not guilty, prepared. That should have scared me more than tears ever could. She crossed her arms, not defensively, more like someone settling into a comfortable position. "We need to talk," she said. "Of course we do." "Okay," I replied. "No drama, no sighs, just okay." She took a breath. A long one. The kind people take when they want credit for emotional labor before they even start. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said. I nodded. "I noticed. Your phone's been working overtime." She ignored that. "This isn't easy for me," she continued, "but I need to be honest." Honesty. The word people use right before detonating your life and calling it growth. "You're a good man," she said. There it is. Whenever a sentence starts like that, brace yourself. "You've always been kind, supportive. You never hurt me." I waited. She stepped closer to the table. "You didn't do anything wrong." Still waiting. "But..." There it is again. "But something is missing." I tilted my head. "Like what? The remote? Because it's literally right there." She frowned, just slightly. Humor wasn't on tonight's menu. "No," she said softly. "Connection." Of course it was. "I feel like we're comfortable," she went on. "But comfort isn't everything. I need something deeper." I leaned back in my chair. "So you're bored," I said. She shook her head immediately. "No, that's not what this is." "Okay," I said. "Then define it." Her lips pressed together. I've met someone, she said. The words landed softly. No drama, no shaking voice, just a fact. I figured, I replied. You don't start talking like a crystal shop pamphlet for no reason. She sighed. Please don't make this ugly. I'm not, I said. I'm making it clear. She looked down at the floor for half a second, then back at me. He understands me. There it is again. The mythical creature. The man who understands. I feel seen with him, she said. Aligned, like we're on the same frequency. I smiled. I couldn't help it. Wow, I said. So all these years, all we were missing was Wi-Fi compatibility. She didn't laugh. I'm serious, she said. He feels like my soulmate. The word hung in the air. Soulmate. That word people use when they want to skip responsibility and jump straight to destiny. I looked at her for a long moment. Not angry, not shocked, just focused. And then I asked the only question that mattered. Who is he? She hesitated, just a fraction of a second. Then she said the name, just like that. No whisper, no shame, no tears. She said it clearly, and my stomach dropped, not because of betrayal, but because of recognition. I knew that name, not vaguely, not, oh, I've heard of him. I knew him. I remembered the first time I'd met him. A work-related event, casual conversation. He had one of those faces, friendly, forgettable, always smiling like he was selling something. I remembered how he talked, always vague, always in the moment, always very good at sounding deep without actually saying anything. I remembered thinking back then, this guy survives by floating, and now he was a soulmate. I nodded once. Got it, I said. She watched my face closely, like she was expecting a reaction. A crack, rage, desperation. Nothing came. I'm not cheating, she said quickly, almost defensively. I need you to understand that. I raised an eyebrow. You're emotionally invested in another man. You hide conversations, you disappear for hours, and you tell me he's your soulmate. But sure, let's call it a spiritual internship. Her jaw tightened. It's not about intimacy, she said. This is about truth. Of course it is. I didn't plan this, she added. It just happened. Amazing how these things always happen to people and never by people. If you really loved me, she said, voice steady, you'd want me to be happy, even if that happiness isn't with you. There it was, the final move. Turn my pain into a test of my love. I looked at her and felt something very clear settle in my chest. Not anger, not jealousy, finality. I stood up, walked past her, and grabbed a glass of water. Took a sip, let the silence stretch. Then I said the word that gave her exactly what she wanted. Okay. She blinked. That's it? She asked. That's it, I said. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't try to convince her she was wrong. I let her believe she'd won. Because sometimes the smartest move is letting someone think they're in control, right before you remove yourself from the game entirely. I didn't sleep. Not because I was crying into a pillow or staring at the ceiling whispering her name like a rejected poet. I didn't sleep because my brain went into maintenance mode. You know that mode? When emotions clock out and logic takes the night shift. The house was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes every sound feel intentional. The hum of the fridge. The click of the thermostat. The soft vibration of my phone when a notification came in and immediately went unanswered. She slept in the bedroom. I slept on the couch. Not dramatically, not as a statement. I just didn't feel like sharing oxygen. Around 6:12 a.m., my brain finally said, all right, enough. I got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table. The same one where she dropped the word soulmate like it was a reusable shopping bag. Here's the thing people don't tell you. There's a moment after betrayal where you can still choose who you're going to be. You can be the guy who spirals, or the guy who plans. I chose planning. I took a sip of coffee and did something I hadn't done in years. I made a list, not on paper, in my head, simple, clean, brutal, finances, housing, stuff. That was it. No why, no how could you, no what if she realizes she made a mistake. Those questions are emotional junk food. They feel satisfying in the moment and leave you weaker afterward. By 7:30 she came into the kitchen, hair messy, phone already in her hand. "Morning," she said, like we'd just had a slightly awkward dinner with friends instead of a philosophical execution of our marriage. "Morning," I replied. She poured herself coffee, glanced at me, then back at her phone. Silence, thick, uncomfortable, informative. "So," she said eventually, "about last night." I looked at her, calm, awake, focused. "What about it?" She shifted her weight. "I just want you to know, I'm not trying to hurt you." "Of course not. People rarely try to hurt you. They just prioritize themselves and let gravity do the rest." "I believe you," I said. She relaxed a little. I could see it. "Good," she said. "Because this is hard for me too." I nodded. "I'm sure." She waited. For emotion, for reaction, for pain. I gave her logistics. "Are you planning on staying here for now?" I asked. "Or are you going to need time somewhere else?" She blinked. "What?" "I'm asking about living arrangements," I said. "Short term." Her eyebrows pulled together. "Wow," she said. "You're moving fast." I replied. "I'm moving forward." She let out a small laugh, not amused, nervous. "Don't you think we should slow down?" she asked. "Process this?" I leaned back in my chair. "Process what?" I said. "You told me you found your soulmate. That sounds pretty processed." She opened her mouth, closed it. "I just need time," she said. Space. There it was again. Space. The word people use when they want all the benefits of distance without the consequences. "Space is fine," I said. "But space comes with structure." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You're making this very transactional." "Yes," I said. "Because emotions already had their meeting. They were inefficient." She stared at me like she was trying to figure out what version of me this was. The version who didn't beg, didn't plead, didn't compete with destiny. "You're being cold," she said. I smiled. "No," I said. "I'm being accurate." After she left for work, I sat there for another 10 minutes. Then I stood up, and I made the first real move. I picked up my phone and searched for something I never thought I'd need. Divorce attorney near me. I didn't feel dramatic, or sad, or heroic. I felt clear. I called one, then another, left messages. By noon, I had an appointment. And that's when it really hit me. I wasn't reacting to her soulmate. I was responding to her decision. And those are two very different things. That night, I didn't ask where she was. I didn't check her phone. I didn't wonder if she was with him. Because here's the truth. Once someone names another person as their soulmate, your role in their story is already over. All that's left is how you exit the stage. And I wasn't planning on crawling off it. If you've never sat in a divorce attorney's office, you probably imagine something dramatic. Tissue boxes, trembling hands, a slow piano soundtrack. Let me correct that. A divorce attorney's office isn't emotional. It's administrative. It's the DMV of heartbreak, except the person behind the desk is smart. The forms are sharper, and the consequences last longer. The waiting room smelled like printer ink and quiet decisions. Beige walls, beige carpet, beige art. Whoever designed that place clearly understood the theme. Nothing in here is supposed to be comforting. I sat there with my phone in my pocket and my pride in my chest, looking at a framed quote that said something like, "Every ending is a new beginning," which is a cute sentiment, unless you're paying by the hour. The receptionist smiled politely, like she'd seen this exact posture on 100 men. Shoulders stiff, jaw tight, eyes trying to act normal, while their brain is playing a highlight reel of every dumb thing they ignored. She called me. I stood up and followed her down a hallway. The attorney's office was cleaner than the waiting room, less beige, more purposeful. diplomas on the wall, a thick binder on the desk, a laptop open with some case software that probably had a button labeled "Destroy Illusions." The attorney herself, mid-40s, sharp eyes, calm voice, stood and offered her hand. "I'm Dana Hart," she said. Her handshake was firm, but not theatrical. The handshake of someone who didn't need to prove anything. I shook it and sat down. She looked at me like I was a problem she could solve with enough information. That alone was weirdly comforting. "Tell me what's going on," she said. I took a breath. "My wife says she found her soulmate," I said. "She says it's not cheating, it's truth, alignment, connection, the universe. Pick a buzzword." Dana's pen paused just for a second. Then she continued writing. "How long have you been married?" she asked. 7 years. "Children?" "No." She nodded like I'd just removed a complicated chapter from the book. "Real estate?" "Mortgage. Houses in both names." "Joint accounts?" "Yes." "Retirement accounts?" "Yes." "Any significant debt besides the mortgage?" "Nothing exciting. Credit cards, car loan." She wrote everything down in neat, small letters. No judgment, no surprise, no pity. Then she finally looked up. "Is there infidelity?" she asked. I stared at her for half a beat. Here's the funny thing about that word. Infidelity. It sounds like a courtroom word, like something you can prove with a photo or a motel keycard. But the reality is usually messier. "She's emotionally involved," I said. "She's hiding conversations, disappearing, acting like I'm her roommate who doesn't respect her boundaries. She claims it's spiritual." Dana nodded, calm as ever. "So, not confirmed physical," she said, "but you have reasonable grounds to assume there's an affair dynamic." "Yeah," I replied. "She calls him her soulmate, which I'm pretty sure is the deluxe package." A faint smile touched her lips. It was quick, professional, like a crack in armor. "All right," she said. "We're going to talk about reality, not feelings." I leaned forward slightly. "Good," I said, "because feelings are expensive. Reality is at least measurable." Dana clicked her pen and opened the binder. "Rule number 1, she said. You do nothing impulsive." "Define impulsive," I said, "because I got married once. I've already peaked." She didn't laugh, but her eyes narrowed with amusement. "No draining accounts, no hiding assets, no revenge spending. No, I took everything because I'm hurt. Judges don't like that." I nodded. "Good. I wasn't planning on being stupid," I said. "I was planning on being thorough." "Thorough is good," she replied. "Thorough is what keeps you from getting walked over." Dana kept going. "Rule number 2, documentation," she said. "You need copies of everything." She slid a printed checklist toward me. It was long enough to make me briefly consider moving to the woods and living off squirrels. "Bank statements for the last 12 months, she said. "Credit card statements, mortgage statements, retirement account summaries, tax returns, insurance policies, utility bills, titles, anything that shows your financial picture." I scanned the list. "Do you also need my blood type and my childhood trauma?" I asked. She actually smiled at that. "Not today," she said, "but give it time." I tapped the paper. "Okay," I said. "I can pull most of this online." "Good," she said. "Rule number 3, secure access." "Meaning?" "Change passwords," she said, "to anything personal, email, banking, phone carrier. Enable 2-factor authentication. If you share passwords, stop." I nodded slowly. My wife and I had shared passwords for years, not because we were paranoid, because it was normal. But normal was dead now. Dana continued, "If you have a joint checking account, don't drain it, but you can open a separate account for your paycheck going forward." "So I'm not stealing," I said. "I'm redirecting." "Exactly," she replied. "Your future earnings are not automatically community property in every case, but the safest approach is to separate moving forward with documentation." I exhaled. There was something almost funny about it. My wife thought she was rewriting our marriage into a spiritual journey, and I was sitting here learning how to redirect direct deposits. That's the difference between romance and adulthood. Dana looked at me again. "What do you want?" she asked. I answered without hesitation. "I want out," I said. "Clean, fast, fair. And I don't want to be her safety net while she experiments with destiny." Dana nodded like she'd heard that exact sentence in 100 different forms. "Then we proceed," she said. "Quietly, strategically. You'll have options. Separation agreement, filing timelines, division proposals. I'll draft what you need when you've gathered the documents." I stood up at the end of the meeting feeling not happy, but stable, like I'd just put my hand on a railing after walking near a cliff. Dana handed me her card. "One more thing," she said. "What?" "If she starts talking about time and space and finding herself, remember this. You don't owe her an open-ended pause button on your life." I looked at her. Then I nodded. "Trust me," I said. "I'm done being anyone's pause button." I got back in my car and sat there for a full minute, hands on the steering wheel. The old version of me would have used that minute to spiral, to imagine her with him, to replay her voice saying soulmate, to wonder if I wasn't enough. But that wasn't useful, and I wasn't here to be useful to my own misery. I pulled out my phone and started doing what adults do when their life detonates. I made folders. Divorce, documents, divorce, accounts, divorce, property. Because if my wife wanted to live in a universe of feelings, fine. I was moving into a universe of PDFs. That night, she came home late again. I didn't ask where she'd been. I didn't raise my voice. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, a neat stack of papers beside it, like some kind of calm, petty accountant. She stopped in the doorway. Her eyes went from the laptop to the papers, then to my face. "What's that?" she asked, cautious now. Not scared, but alert, like she'd finally noticed the game had changed. "Financial documents," I said casually. Her brows pulled together. "Why?" I looked at her and gave her a small, polite smile, the kind you give a person who thinks you're bluffing. "Because yesterday you said you found your soulmate," I said. "And I took you seriously." Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. "You're overreacting," she said. I tilted my head. "Overreacting would be me screaming," I replied. "This is me filing." She stepped into the kitchen slowly, like the papers might bite her. "I told you," she said. "This isn't about cheating." "Sure," I said. "It's about truth." She nodded quickly, relieved that I repeated her word. "Yes," she said. "Exactly. Truth." I tapped the stack of papers. "Great," I said. "Truth loves documentation." She stared at me, trying to regain the tone she'd had during the soulmate speech. "You can't just," she started. "I can," I said, calm. "And I am," she swallowed. "Are you divorcing me?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Not to be dramatic. To be precise. "I'm preparing," I said. "There's a difference. One is emotional, the other is smart." Her eyes narrowed. "You're doing this to punish me," she said. I leaned back. "No," I replied. "I'm doing this to protect myself." She stood there, arms crossed, phone still in her hand. And for the first time in weeks, she looked unsettled. Not because she suddenly cared, because she suddenly understood. I wasn't going to chase her into her spiritual fog. I was going to turn the lights on and start packing. I didn't go looking for him. I didn't do the whole drive by his place thing, or scroll social media like a detective with a broken heart. I just needed to get out of the house before the silence started talking back. So I ended up in a grocery store, one of those places where people buy wine they can't pronounce and pretend it means something. I was halfway down the aisle when I saw him. Not a shadow, not a concept. A real guy, standing there like he belonged to the world. Calm, casual, choosing a bottle like his biggest problem was tannins. That name my wife dropped on our kitchen table suddenly had a face. I walked up before I could overthink it. "Hey," I said. "Long time." He turned, and I watched it happen in real time. Confusion, recognition, that tiny mental calculation people do when they realize the room just got dangerous. Hey, he said, forcing a smile. Yeah, it's been a while. We stood there in front of the wine like two men auditioning for a scene neither of us wanted. I kept my voice light. How've you been? Good, he said. Busy. You? Same. A beat of silence. He tried to steer it into polite nothingness, but his shoulders were tense now. He knew. I knew he knew. He lowered his voice. Listen, I don't want this to be weird. I gave him a small, calm smile, the kind that doesn't promise anything. I'm not here for weird. He exhaled like I'd just handed him permission to stay a coward. Then I asked, still calm, so what exactly is this for you? I'm just supporting her, he added quickly, like that cleaned it up. I said, supporting with your presence, your time, your connection. He frowned. Look, I'm not trying to break up a marriage. And yet, I said, you're standing in the middle of one. That hit. Not hard, just enough. He hesitated. Then the truth slipped out in the most boring way possible. I'm not looking for anything serious, he said. I'm just seeing where things go. There it was. No destiny, no forever, no soulmate speech. Just a man keeping his options open while my wife called it truth. I nodded once. Got it. He blinked. That's it? That's it, I said. Good luck. I walked away without raising my voice because I didn't need to win a conversation. I needed a decision. Sitting in my car afterward, I didn't feel rage. I felt something cleaner. I made the right moves before I ever saw him. When I got home, the house felt like a place that had stopped pretending. I didn't play sad music. I didn't pour whiskey. I didn't stare at wedding photos like a man auditioning for his own breakdown. I grabbed boxes, not with anger, with precision. Bathroom first, her bottles, cosmetics, the stuff that spreads across counters like a quiet occupation. I packed it carefully, not because I was being kind, but because I wasn't going to be sloppy. Then the closet, separate piles, work clothes, casual, shoes, chargers, documents, little items you don't notice until they're gone. I labeled each box in plain black marker. Not your stuff, not good luck with your soulmate. Just bathroom, closet, desk. By the time she came home, the stack wasn't dramatic. It was organized. She stopped in the doorway and stared at the boxes like they'd appeared by magic. What is this? She asked, voice tightening. Your things, I said simply. Her eyes narrowed. Are you trying to guilt me? I almost smiled. No, I said. I'm trying to be efficient. She walked closer, arms folding. This is dramatic. I looked at her, calm. Dramatic would have been a fight. This is packing. She scoffed, but I could see the shift. She'd expected me to chase, to plead, to spiral. Instead, I was treating her soulmate revelation like a logistical event. You're doing this because you're hurt, she said, trying to pull it back into her script. I'm hurt, I agreed. That's not why I'm doing it. She opened her mouth, probably to say, I need time, or you're being controlling, or some other therapy-flavored grenade, but nothing came out clean. And for the first time, she looked uncertain, because she realized I wasn't going to be her waiting room. She stood there in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes jumping from the boxes to my face, like she was waiting for the punchline. Like this was still a phase, a tactic, a bluff. You're really committing to this, she said finally. I already did, I replied. This is just the visible part. She shook her head slowly. You're doing everything at once. You're not even giving this space to breathe. I nodded once. That's intentional. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Not angry, controlled, careful. I told you I need time, she said. You're forcing a decision. I looked at her and realized something oddly calm. She still thought this was a conversation. I walked past her, grabbed the folder from the kitchen table, and came back. Plain folder. No drama, no labels like divorce in red letters, just paper. I held it out to her. She frowned. "What's that?" "Documents," I said. "Read them when you're ready." She didn't take it immediately. Suspicion replaced confidence. "What kind of documents?" "Practical ones," I said. "Timelines, options, separation terms. Nothing exotic." Her expression shifted. Not fear yet, but the first crack. "You already talked to a lawyer?" she asked. "Yes." That landed. Her eyes narrowed. "So you planned this behind my back?" "No," I said. "I planned it after you named another man as your future." She scoffed. "You're being extreme." She finally took the folder and flipped it open. Pages, bullet points, dates, real things. She closed the folder sharply. "You're doing this to punish me." I shook my head. "I'm doing this so I don't become your backup plan." Her mouth opened, then closed again. She tried a different angle. "I didn't even do anything physical," she said. "You're reacting to a feeling." "I made my decision the moment you said his name," I said calmly. "Not when I imagined things. Not when I felt insecure. When you turned us into a triangle." She stared at me, searching for something. Anger, jealousy, weakness. She didn't find it. "You're not even asking me to stop," she said quietly. I nodded. "Correct." "Why not?" "Because I already saw where this goes." She frowned. "What does that mean?" I didn't hesitate. "I met him," I said. Her face changed instantly. Not outrage, not betrayal, shock. "You what?" "I ran into him," I said. "Accidentally. We talked." Her voice tightened. "And?" "And he's not planning a future," I said. "He's seeing where things go. No commitments, no destiny, just comfort." She swallowed. "That's not—" she started. "I'm not here to debate his intentions," I cut in, still calm. "I'm telling you why I'm done." She looked down at the folder again, like it might rearrange itself into something softer. "You're not even giving me a chance to figure this out," she said. I took a breath, slow, controlled. "I gave you years," I said. "You gave someone else a title." Silence filled the space between us. Heavy, final. She closed the folder and held it against her chest. "So that's it?" she asked. I nodded. "That's it." She searched my face one last time. "What if I change my mind?" she asked. "Then you'll do it without me," I said. And for the first time since she'd said the word soulmate, she looked like she understood the cost of saying it out loud. 2 months later, the noise was gone. Her soulmate disappeared the way men like that usually do. No confrontation, no closure, just distance disguised as maturity. A slow fade, a polite vanishing. She texted me once, just a careful message that said she'd been thinking and wanted to talk. I didn't reply right away, not because I was bitter, because I was busy living in a house that finally felt like mine again. I had routines now, mornings that started without tension, evenings without waiting for someone to choose me, peace that didn't require permission. Eventually, I wrote back, short, clean. "I wish you well." That was true, but it wasn't an invitation. The funny thing is, I didn't lose her to a soulmate. I lost her the moment she decided I was something to grow past instead of grow with. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.